mainstream allowed view is that message that Jesus is about to return should raise your eyebrows immediately. It's a subtle deception. It's very subtle. He would want you to believe that you know it all and everything's perfect and everything's going great for you. Just by simply confusing where you are in time, that change everything. You're all waiting for Jesus to return, so Satan, Lucifer, can put on a pretty good show for you. We're already past all of that. The thing we're about to see that's going to call itself Jesus is not Jesus. Because he's not going to come to establish a kingdom the last time. He's going to bring fire from heaven, and then everything is dead and it's immediate judgment. It's something else, you know. An army needs to be raised first. The UFO, the coming UFO invasion that's been leaked forever, you know, through military, and they're always hinting at it through predictive programming movies that there's going to be an alien invasion, that all of humanity is going to come together to fight this common enemy, you know. They've been prepping us through the media for so long about an alien invasion of some kind. Werner von Braun talking about the final stage is an fake alien invasion. It's all a lie, you know. It's all going to be this contrived story that these evil controllers are going to come up with. It's fallen angels, it's demons, and it's kind of, that narrative really isn't anywhere. Loads of things are building towards this spectacle that's about to be created, and it's going to be completely contrived and fake, because Satan needs to gather an army to make war with the camp of saints. Yeah. So how's he going to do that? How's he going to convince pretty much everybody whose number is of the sands of the sea, a 1 billion man army, all coming together to surround something, we'll call it the beloved city, to make war with the camp of saints? How's he going to do that? Well, if everyone believes aliens have invaded and they're in the North Pole, let's say, or wherever they're going to be, this floating giant thing in the sky, that's like a floating city, shall we say, of some kind, the mothership, shall we call it, you know. If you can convince that they come here to attack and take us down, let's go make war with it, then you've just gathered Gog and Magog from the four corners of the earth to surround the beloved city, haven't you? And we all believe we're fighting against evil, oppressive aliens who have come to control us and take over, or whatever nefarious thing we've been brainwashed with. So there's a paradigm shift each time. So how can we make sense of all these agendas everywhere we see? What's the point of it all? The time is short. I don't know how long a little season is, how long's a piece of string, you know what I mean? I think it's as long as it takes. Yeah. He's got a job to do, the devil, at the end of the day. God is in control. Looking at the shadows on the wall, we've been taken for a ride if this millennial kingdom thing is true. This little season thing is true. But it's all contrived. It's all orchestrated. It wasn't the real one. It's already happened. Okay, so what comes at the end of it all? When it's not Jesus, how many people are going to lose their faith? They were waiting for him to come in the clouds and save them. But he doesn't turn up. It just gets worse. Okay. I don't know what happens. I don't know what he's going to, it's some kind of AI transhumanist nightmare hellhole, no doubt, where it's kind of like a constant torment or something. I don't know. Own version of his own millennial kingdom is what Satan's aiming for here, so it can be like Jesus. Christians are all waiting for. It's going to be something else which is going to destroy their faith, and maybe then he'll be able to gather that army, because everyone will feel betrayed. The tribulation event has already happened and we're in the little season. We can no longer take things at face value. Angels are in rebellion now. It's not the world that it was before tribulation. And it's trippy to think about. But what our eyes can see and the evidences that are clear to us by the way things are going down and what's left on the earth that we can actually see with our own eyes, it's telling us it did happen. Melted buildings everywhere, signs of absolute destruction everywhere, land utterly decimated by electricity everywhere, barely any old trees. Yes, some old trees do exist. Sure, not enough. Like, something happened, something reset everything. And the only thing that biblically can square that is tribulation. There's nothing left. So how can prophecy come true and be tribulation come to pass if these places no longer exist and are just rubble? You know, how is that possible? Like, it's self-evident by the things which we can see. The buildings. These beautiful buildings everywhere that don't seem to make sense when we were told they were built. The people really couldn't have built them the way they're said on such a scale and in such number with such uniform style across every continent. It just doesn't make sense. The history's a lie. But these are buildings I've walked past my entire life, even in my own home, little small town. You know. And then suddenly I'm actually seeing them for the first time because they're on my radar. And they're incredible. And these are the type of paradigm shifting topics. You know, suddenly I can't walk through the park, the Victorian Park now in my city in the UK without seeing it for what it is. It's an incredibly beautiful thing with extremely complex stone bridges, cenotaphs, benches with Egyptian iconography all over them, all completely out of place in cast iron, metal, steel work, you know what I mean, in ways that just boggle the mind with such intricate details far beyond what was necessary for the time, you know. And you realize that these are everywhere, all over the place, and it's kind of who had the time and the manpower to do this? Well, it seems like these things could only really have been built. Sure, we can do it now, but for the times they said, they must have been built during a time where people had the time to make things beautiful and for the sake of beautiful, rather than utilitarian, which is what we do today with our buildings. We've gotten worse at things. We take shortcuts now. We don't take the time to make things look good. But there's people in the past did in ways that just boggle the mind. People are really experimental with architecture in the past, you know, during this millennial kingdom, and the artwork that was being created, the messages behind it, all of it is just screaming something else, something next level. And when you look at them through this lens, it changes everything. It looks incredible. Everything looks amazing, and you realize what's going on. You know that we are just squatters in a world that didn't belong to us. So, so who are we exactly then? What's going on here? Who are we? You know, like I said, are we the remnants of people who survived through the millennial reign and we're just their descendants, or as it's described in Revelations 20? It says, the rest of the dead live not again till the 1,000 years has ended. Now,
oh, man.
Is that immediately after the 1,000 years has ended? Or is that metaphorically for at the end of the 1,000 years and then at the end of the little season, everybody's resurrected at once for final judgment? I don't think it says that. I think it's telling us the first resurrection involves the martyrs. They will reign with Christ forever, including through his millennial reign. And they will go to the camp of saints. They will be the saints. They will be in their perfected light bodies. They've got a free pass at judgment. And the rest of the dead, everybody else, is resurrected after the 1,000-year reign. So there's a second resurrection. Now, resurrection means physical body. You can't. You're resurrected into flesh. That's what resurrected is. You know, when you're in spirit form and in heaven with God at the great white throne for judgment, you're not resurrected into a body. You've just been woken up as a spirit form. It's not really a resurrection, is it? Christ resurrected into a physical body. And that's what he's offering everybody else. The saints got that in the first resurrection. Blessed are the ones who take part in the first resurrection, as it says, because they get to reign with Christ forever. They get to go through his millennial reign and then some. But everybody else, all the rest of the dead who before all of this, throughout all of history, those who never even got a chance to know Christ, who never even heard of him before, but I believe they get a chance and they get resurrected again. And maybe that's us now in the little season. Maybe we are people who have already died. I know people don't like to hear that. I'm not talking about reincarnation here. I'm talking about resurrection. The Bible is a book about conquering death and resurrection. Why is it unheard of to consider that God may resurrect the dead in the end time to live through the little season? Because we live in a time now where if you go out of your way, you can find out about Jesus Christ and get saved. The Holy Spirit still works and they can still get to know him.
John the Baptist was actually Elijah. John the Baptist didn't even know he was Elijah. And Jesus said, no, he is. This was Elijah, which was for to come, which is another prophecy because it said Elijah was going to come before the day of the Lord.
So that's a resurrection. No, that's the same Spirit resurrected. People who saw Jesus after his resurrection, he didn't look the same.
They knew it was him, but he didn't look the same.
He was in a different type of body. People are raised from the dead. Isn't Jesus raised like 10 people from the dead when he was walking? Lazarus being probably the most popular one that people know of, but I'm pretty sure he raised people from the dead. So people who have died, bodies rotting in the tomb, resurrected. It's possible. All things are possible through God and Christ. That's don't limit him in that respect. Well, we're not talking about reincarnation. We're not talking about your soul in an endless cycle coming back into the earth repeatedly after every death into a different form based on your karma and how good or bad you were. Depends on what you get to come back as. That's reincarnation. We're talking about biblical resurrection. Your essence, your soul comes back in its intended God-created flesh body. That's different. That's not reincarnation. That's resurrection at God's appointed time only, not in repeated cycles. So, God has appointed the times. He's laid them out in Revelation. Obviously, Jesus rose people from the dead as examples of his power. And he even says, Lazarus has died, so I can prove to you as witnesses that I can bring people back from the dead. That's why this has happened. He's making it clear it's all done for an intended purpose. So it's always explained why these things happen. And in Revelation it says there's a first resurrection after tribulation. Those who endured to the end, or those who were beheaded for his name's sake, are resurrected. Those are the saints. Those are the martyrs. Those are the apostles who were killed, to spread the gospel during this early time, just before his immediate return. They get to reign with him forever. That's the first resurrection. And then it says, then there's a second resurrection after the 1,000 years has ended. So, the Bible's telling you there are resurrections of flesh bodies. And what I'm saying right now is we must be either descendants of those who lived through the millennial reign, or we are those resurrected, or the descendants of those who are resurrected. But it's likely our soul, or nefesh, is one of the many who is waiting to be resurrected, that's kind of birthed into this world through our parents. Is a little season as long as it takes for us all to be resurrected once. And as soon as every spirit or soul has taken part in the second resurrection, then the little season's over. It's everybody all at once, maybe. I think it is a case of through birthing this has happened, maybe, and it's with each, and maybe this is why abortion is such a big thing today. Way to slow down the process of these people who take part in the second resurrection having their chance. You know, maybe that's why the push for that is so vigorous today. Maybe he's trying to make his short season longer. Maybe that's what all this is all about. And the people who live during this time, it's not explained clearly, but we are told the second resurrection happens after the millennial reign ends. But a lot of people equate the day of the Lord to being a description of tribulation. But at the end of this description in Zephaniah, it says the whole earth will be consumed, for he will make a sudden end of all who live on the earth. That's the Revelation 20 event where fire comes down and ends everything. Everything's ended. Full stop. End of the tape. Done. Story over. Everyone then in front of the great white throne for judgment. It's time. You know, and then, only then, after all the judgment is completed and then things are thrown into the lake of fire, is there a new heaven, a new earth, and a new Jerusalem. Only then. These visions of the days of the Lord, not only are they talking about cyclical, small cataclysms for certain cultures who blasphemed against God in the most heinous of ways, and they received his divine judgment, I think it's also explaining the final divine judgment at the end of time. True day of the Lord, the final day of the Lord.